One of the definitions of death is if you do not fog a mirror held up to your mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking...
That's respiratory.
Yeah, that was a long time.
So that tells me that however real our current definitions feel about when someone dies could be modified in the near or distant future.
Absolutely. And neither birth nor death are very clearly defined. And I've pointed this out, that they're both somewhat fuzzy. I mean, when is it that you actually are you at birth? And that's the whole argument about abortion and all of that is just about that. And similarly, the point of death is also
when are you
a
no
little
longer
fuzzy.
you?
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah.
So the bit in between is aging.
The bit in between is aging. And in fact, you start aging even in utero.
Interesting.
Wow.
From the time you're conceived, your fertilized egg starts to develop.
Is that why all children are born looking like old men?
Like Winston Churchill. No. So that's even earlier than a loaf of bread. Because you know when a loaf of bread starts aging?
No.
Right when you take it out of the oven.
Yes, exactly.
Well, okay.
In that moment, it starts getting old.
Right.
But here...
This is in the oven.
In the oven, you're getting old. Okay.
Look at that.
Forgive me as an astrophysicist, I hear talk of cells but then I also hear talk of proteins. So could you distinguish the two of them for me with regard to the role of aging?
So aging you can think of aging as an accumulation of damage and changes to our molecules, our cells, our tissue, and entire organs and the body. And this aging occurs at every one of those levels. So if you think of the molecule that holds all the information necessary to make all of the other molecules in the cell, that's our genes, our DNA. So DNA can be damaged. It can also change, which is not exactly damaged, but it can be modified as we age, typically by adding chemical groups to it, often methyl groups.
It's gene editing.
It's epigenetics. It's not editing as such. It's not changing the bases. It's not changing the letters of the DNA.
That would be gene editing.
That would be gene editing.
Okay.
This is epigenetics, which means sort of on top of genetics.
Like the epicenter of an earthquake is the point on our surface above where the...
Right.
Yeah.
And so you can modify DNA, and that changes the way in which the program is expressed. So which genes are translated into protein.
So this is the playing God part, because now you are changing the...
No, we're not doing anything.
Happens.
This is happening.
This
is happening even in utero.
Experiential circumstances can change your epigenetics.
Is this the translational control of proteins?
It's just part of life. And it evolved for probably a very good reason. Mainly, it may have been a cancer prevention mechanism early in life. We can get into why we have death from an evolutionary point of view. But nevertheless, the DNA program itself ages. Damage and modifications change the nature of the genes that you're expressing. Then that results in the proteins, which are encoded by DNA.
There you go.
These are the workhorses of the cell. They carry out all the function. They give the cell its structure. Almost everything you think of as a property of life, like vision or touch or antibodies, they're all proteins. And they're all encoded by DNA. But as we get older, the quality of the proteins deteriorates. They're not made at the right time and the right amount. They start aggregating. Alzheimer's is a case where proteins clump up together and form tangles.
In the brain.
So that also, in the brain. So that also is a consequence of age. And as a result, things in the cell, larger entities like compartments in the cell, also start to age. One of them are mitochondria, mitochondria were actually bacteria that were swallowed up by a larger cell 2 billion years ago, and then lived in symbiosis. And now, today, mitochondria are specialized as the centers for energy metabolism. It's where oxygen is used to burn sugar effectively and get energy out of it.
So it's that kind of chemistry going that far back that accounts for our genetic similarity to life forms that are nothing like us. Like we're something like 25% identical genes to a banana.
Yes. All eukaryotes came out of that.
Yes.
Out of that symbiosis.
Okay.
And so you can think of this as an ancient, organelle that's now specialized, and because it's a center for oxygen usage, it can create what are called free radicals or reactive oxygen species, because these are partially reduced oxygen atoms which are chemically very reactive. So you can have a lot of damage.
So to be clear, if it's fully reduced, that means all the oxygen is where it could
becomes
fit,
water.
And then there's nothing else that can
carbon
happen to it.
dioxide and water is what you get.
Yes, it's fully reduced. Partially, it's basically activated.
It's activated
to do things.
And it does
chemically.
damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it can cause damage. And mitochondria have preserved a little bit of their own genome. They used to have a much larger genome when they were bacteria, but now that genome has shrunk. In humans, they only encode 13 protein genes, but they're essential for the function of mitochondria. And the mechanism to replicate that DNA, to copy that DNA as mitochondria divide, it's not as accurate as the mechanism for our own DNA replication. The more errors creep in. And so mitochondrial aging is a big problem with our aging.
Is that the single point of failure in terms of
It's
the aging?
not a single point. I think aging,
He's blaming it on the mitochondria.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be blamed.
Like aging is like a cascade failure.
But I do like to say that the reason my grandson has a lot more energy than I do is because he has much better mitochondria
Right.
than I do.